I refuse to allow my cousin-in-law and his family to move in when they're about to be homeless. My husband's cousin Chris and his wife Rachel have 3 kids, 13 years, 5 years, 3 years, and we've hung out twice since our daughter was born. We're not close. Rachel's always been rude to me. Before my husband met me, Rachel had a thing for him and tried to date him. He never reciprocated, and then when we became official, Rachel started dating Chris. Chris called asking if they can move in with us as they're homeless. Chris and Rachel missed rent payments and got evicted and have been couch surfing with their 3 kids for the past month or so. My husband said he would need to talk to me first. My immediate response was no. Husband agreed, although he felt bad. Chris's family had been giving them money to make their rent payments, and instead of paying rent, they used the money for other things. Chris works odd construction jobs and doesn't make much. Rachel claims she can't work because of ADHD. Chris called back, and my husband apologized and said we don't have the space. Chris tried to say we have 5 bedrooms. My husband clarifies that we don't. We have 4, one of which is my office. Chris says he's disappointed and he would have helped us. My husband says I work from home and need the house to be quiet. Chris says he doesn't understand where we get the impression that their kids can't be quiet, and he's offended. Rachel says we have the money and a big house to help, but that we would rather see 3 kids end up on the streets because I'm greedy. I snap and tell her that her kids are not my responsibility, and I'm not comfortable sharing my home with strangers. It's not our problem that they mismanaged their finances and that maybe she shouldn't have gotten her nails done every week and paid their rent instead. She responded that I don't understand how hard they have it because I'm privileged and providing for 3 kids isn't cheap. So I said maybe she should get a job and stop using ADHD as an excuse, and they should have thought of that before having kids and hung up. Husband's phone starts blowing up with calls from family members. He picks up Chris's dad's Paul call. Paul wants to know why we're unwilling to help. I ask him why he and his wife haven't opened their home, as this is his son and grandkids after all. He says Chris, Rachel, and the kids stayed for a week, but their house is too small and it didn't work out. I told him that we aren't close to Chris, Rachel, and have no obligation to them, and I suggested he and his wife reopen their home to their son and grandkids. He says they did open their home and now it's our turn. I laughed and hung up. So now my husband's family thinks that we're cruel and heartless. We also haven't disclosed that I'm pregnant, which is also a big reason. They're anti-vax, and I don't want to be exposed. And I'll be going on mat leave for a year as of January, so we're trying to save up.
Geez, how disrespectful these people are. I mean, can't they understand that no means no? Even after a valid excuse and reason was given, they continue to beg, and then even have the nerve to call you selfish and greedy. So I think we all can agree that what you did was right or fair.
I kicked out my uncle and made him pay for the damages his spoiled, rotten child did in my home. Here's some context before I start this story. The spoiled child is just 1 year younger than me. His brother also has a big part in this story. He is 2 years older than me, and my uncle always makes him pay for anything the little brat does. And let's give names. The older brother is called Jason, and let's call the little brother Joe. And let's call my uncle just Uncle. Okay, let's start this. This was less than a week ago, and it was Jason's birthday, and my uncle called us and said that he wanted to sing him happy birthday and have his party at my house. Jason is my best friend, even though he is my cousin. We say, all right, sounds good, because he said it would just be a little get-together with our family. We skip a couple hours and they arrive. I go to Jason because he is my best friend and it's his day. So I hug him and wish him a happy B-Day. And I only wave to Joe. And I shake my uncle's hand. The 2 brothers go into my room since that's where I have the PS5 and all the gaming stuff. We play for a couple hours, but I remember that every time Joe has been at my house, he has always ended up crying and throwing a fit. Our older cousin got here. She is older than all of us, and she sits on my bed. She's not really into the gaming, and we didn't have chairs for all of us in my room. We are playing DBF, a fighting game like MK. First, me and Jason go 3 rounds. Then it was me versus Joe. Joe is a toxic person when winning and is a sore loser when he loses. So I start like normal. Then I play with one hand and stop trying. Success. So I lose, and he starts talking his trash, but it better than having him throw a fit. A few more hours later, it's time for the cake to be sliced. We all take a picture together, and then just me and the 2 brother, then just the brothers. Jason didn't take any picture alone, when though it's his day. I told my uncle about this, but he acted like he didn't hear me. He just glared at me. We all go into my room, but this time Joe brings a water bottle with him. After a while, we do a try not to laugh. We all had 5 lives. Joe was losing and was on his final life, and Annie laughed after it got to him that he lost. I guess he blamed me for him losing. He poured water on me and my gaming stuff. I stuck out my arm and made his water go all over the floor, and him and I went to soccer, punch him right in the jaw. My arm was already winded back, but instead I yell out for help. My uncle come running as well as my mom. And by that time, Joe was already crying his eyes out. My uncle just runs to the little brat and start hugging him. And then he starts to yell at Jason, asking him what happened. Our older cousin was on his way out, and my aunt just said it's not Jason's fault. I yell at my uncle, telling him it's not his fault. Joe put water all over my stuff. Then my uncle started cleaning the water while yelling at Jason. Me and my mom kept yelling at him to tell him to not blame him. His counterclaim is that Jason knows how his brother is, and he needs to watch over him. Joe, with the bottle still in his hand, glaring at me as if saying, "Shut up." My uncle got triggered by us telling him off that he gave the mop to Joseph and said, "There is that what you want, my poor baby is doing hard labor." Now I went over to Jason and gave him a bag he has with the games he traded with me a few months back. And I got on my knee and I started to tell him to take his games and that we will not trade ever again because my uncle will never take him back. He was crying too because my uncle was yelling at him on his birthday. I told my uncle that he will pay for everything that his son did. And he said he would give me the brothers controllers. And I said, not because I have the Pro PS5 controller. And he, with his eye wide, said, the Pro, knowing that it's not cheap. My uncle made Joe say sorry to me after a bit of fight. I told him sorry is not going to cut it. On the way out, my uncle said that I should not pick one brother over the other and that this was my fault. The next day, my 65-inch TV stopped working and only the sound is coming out, but half of the screen is blue and the rest is black. Me and my mom called him, and I did most of the talking. He said there is not way that the TV don't working no more with just a little water. I said, I don't care what you think, but you are paying for it. Then we started debating about his kids, and what I'm about to say are his words. I ask, so if one brother has a friend, then does friend have to be friends with both of them? Even though although they are not the same age. My uncle says yes if's friend and hang out and play with the both of them. He can play with none of them. And yes, with that same logic, if one of them has a girlfriend, she has to be in love with the both of them to be their girlfriend. I also asked him if one brother kills someone and they're in the same room, do they both go to jail? And he said yes. Because just by being there, you are part of the murder. And I said, oh, what if they are not in the same room? He said, same thing. They are brother and will die together. And the whole time we were on FaceTime. But that little brat heard that I was calling. He stopped playing and started running on the treadmill. And my uncle said, how could I not love him? Look on him sweating like crazy. And for context, he was doing something his dad likes so he wouldn't get in trouble. In the end, he told my mom to shut me up and started yelling at him. She said, stop, don't start something else, trusting her. I calmed down, and he said he never wants me to play with any of his kids ever. Jason hasn't said a word to him since then. My uncle started crying, saying, "Why are we all ganging up on his kids?" And his little brat says that he poured a little water on me and that I did the rest. And he said that was true because his boy was wet. Hey, and that he is checking and taking the TV to his house, and that whenever the kids want to talk to me or hang out, I told him that's okay. Buy the TVs and take this one and never come back.
Oh my God, what a nerve his uncle has. He obviously is showing favorites towards his younger child and treating his older child like garbage. Even after that, he still refuses to pay for the damages and continues to blame his older child for damages made. His younger son, I think we can all say that what you did was totally right or fair.